are you guys doing? So glad to be with you guys today. And Dr. Riggs, that just touched my heart. I'm thankful to be on this committee, and I'm thankful to be here with you today to talk about something that comes up a lot with clients in my virtual practice. Stress, right? It's what we're talking about today in this little time block, and it's something that I'm very passionate about because I see how quickly it comes into the conversation because it's so important to overall health. And so that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about for a few minutes today. So whenever I have these conversations with clients, so often they will be like, yeah, I know I have stress and I'm trying to work on it, but it's not going that well. What do you guys, do you feel that? It's not going that well. I can't just eliminate all stress, right? But I think that knowing we have stress and that it's affecting our health is one thing. However, knowing we have stress and having the tools and knowledge is quite another. And so today, I really hope to empower you so that you don't stress about having stress. You feel me? The World Health Organization actually recognizes stress as a major issue in this century. Short-term stress is natural, and we are all going to have that, and it actually can be helpful. Our body's made to manage that, but it's the long-term stress that can lead to significant health challenges. So whenever we hear the word stress, a lot of times we think just in a general term. However, there are actually two types of stress. There's eustress and distress. And so eustress is a type of stress that feels challenging but manageable and actually does lead to growth. And then there's distress that typically feels a little more difficult and has more of a negative impact. And so some of this does really depend on independent factors, individual factors to us, but typically the biggest differentiator between these two types of stress is the length of time. And so, again, I really hope to give you some tools to help break up these stress patterns so that stress doesn't have such a negative impact on our body. So, whenever we think about the negative impacts, let's just talk about what those might be for just a minute. They really are wide-ranging, but there are a few that commonly pop up. Poor sleep can definitely be a negative effect of stress, and that could be maybe not falling asleep that great or not staying asleep, and obviously that can affect our whole day, especially if we have several nights of poor sleep. And so, plug for the sleep system, of course, you'll hear more about that in the coming presentations, but also lack of focus. I can't tell you how many women that I talk to that just can't recall things. They feel fuzzy. They just can't focus maybe like they used to. A lot of times that can be attributed to long-term stress. Poor eating habits. You know, whenever you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, you typically don't want to turn to maybe some of the more healthier options, right? Especially maybe later at night. And so poor eating habits could fit in this category. Of course, lack of energy, right? If our body's kind of trying to manage all the things that we're throwing at it and it's just feeling overwhelmed, that takes a lot of energy away from just our day-to-day functions. And so fatigue, whether it be in the morning, maybe it's hard to wake up, or possibly even you just feel tired all throughout the day, or that afternoon slump. Any of that could kind of fit into that category. And then last but not least is irritable behavior, right? We're just a little shorter. We don't have as much patience with those around us. That can definitely be an effect of stress. And so when we think about the negative effects of stress, I want to talk about why that might be. Because it's one thing to know this, but I want you to know kind of what's going on in your body whenever it feels that stress. And so there's a key part of the body that is affected by stress, and that's the nervous system. So the nervous system, any type of stress activates the nervous system. So let's kind of break down that sentence and kind of talk about it just a little bit. So there's activation of the nervous system, or what you might have heard of as fight or flight, kind of living in that sympathetic dominant state, can really wear and tear on the body long term. But first, what is the nervous system? It's actually, by definition, an organized network of nerve tissue in the body. And it transmits signals between the brain and the rest of the body, including the internal organs. And it has two main parts. There's the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. And so when you think about stress, you more so think about that peripheral nervous system because it's always scanning for safety. That's a key thing to keep in mind because our body is made perfectly and it's not messing up when we have these certain symptoms in relation to stress. And so if it's constantly scanning for safety, any type of stress is going to make it feel a little unsafe. And so therefore it has to react. And so it goes into that more sympathetic fight or flight type of behavior. And which is great if you're chased by a tiger or a person or whatever, you're trying to get away from something. However, a lot of times the stress that we feel is not that, right? It's we had an argument with somebody or we're feeling overwhelmed with all that we have to do. And so it's important to know this, but also, of course, know how we can signal safety to our body. When we actually are safe, we don't need to run away. And so 3 of the fastest ways to signal safety, that's what I kind of want to talk about for just a minute. Touch, breath, and smell. And you might, breath is one that you probably have thought about before, especially moms in here, right? We've been through labor, a lot of us, and so you hear, just breathe, just keep breathing. And breath is a powerful way to signal safety to the body, because whenever we are under stress, we're in that more just kind of go mentality, but our body's kind of wondering what to do. We have this short kind of rapid breathing. And so if you want to signal safety and kind of move more into that other side of the nervous system, long, slow, deep breaths are really a great way you can do that. And then touch might not be one you've thought about before, but I really like to think about it as, how do we signal safety to a baby? We hold it close, it's skin to skin, we're going to pat, rub, that can really signal safety to a baby. And sometimes we need to just baby ourselves, right? So literally touching, like rubbing your arms, patting your chest right here can really help to signal safety to your body. And then smell. Smell is one of the fastest ways that we can interact with our body and kind of help it to have a response. And what I really love is that we can use essential oils with every single one of these. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So Adaptiv. I was asked what my favorite oil was when they wanted me to be on, this committee, and they were getting things together, and I said, hands down, Adaptiv. I love this system. I think that it's just so beautifully put together with the different components of it, and it really is meant to be used as a system. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what that might look like, but this system is herbs and oils kind of put together in a way to help the body really manage stress and kind of break up that long-term stress loop and give the body nutrients and things to aid it to calm and to really help to signal that safety. So let's talk about the Adaptiv blend for just a minute. Who here loves Adaptiv? Okay, right? I mean, it's just good. I remember when Adaptiv came out, I was at that convention and I was just so excited because the first time I smelled it, I knew it was such a special blend because it's such a unique blend too. It's got that floral kind of smell to it, but then the tree and the herb oils really help to have that grounding component to it. And so it is truly a unique combination that can help to calm, relax, and uplift. Something that we can use all of those things when we do feel stressed throughout our day. And so using this one, we'll talk a little bit about how we can do that practically, sort of more at the end. Okay, so Adaptiv capsules are the other part of this system, and this is a unique blend of herbs and oils. And so there's oils like lavender and coriander and wild orange that really help to signal that calm and the uplifting. And then there's also herbs and neurotransmitters. And so GABA is in this blend, which you can think about it sort of like the brakes of the brain. Do you guys feel sometimes like you just have so many thoughts, right? We're just always thinking. Maybe it's a woman thing, I don't know. But anyway, sometimes I need a little breaks to my brain. So I love that they put that in here. Ahi flower is a natural omega-3, and it really helps with that brain function. And then we have Selenium tutorsum, which helps the body better use serotonin. And so this system is truly what gives and can help support the body to have that more calming, help the nervous system to move more into the calming side. But I love to use these tools, but when I'm feeling stressed, I really like to just go outside. I don't know if you guys feel that way. Nature is so calming. This is such a unique and really powerful blend that doTERRA has given us with Shinrin-Yoku to bring nature inside. And so the more I learn about God's creation and just simply being outside in nature, I'm constantly amazed, but I'm also just realize how much of a detriment it is to our health that we're not outside more. And studies have shown even spending 20 minutes outside can have a huge effect on our health, especially if we can put our feet in the grass and we can go outside in the morning to get that good morning light. And I actually did my own study with this. I just did a hike on the Appalachian Trail, 6 days and 75 miles, completely outside, right? So I did my own study, and it works really well, right? Nature is just amazing at restoring our body, mind, and spirit, to be honest. And so I think it's really important that we can have these tools when we can't spend so much time outside like we might want to. This blend, though, is really super cool in the way it has so many terpenes, which really helps to create a calming and centering. I love the centering aspects of the tree oils, and so I love to use this one to just when I'm kind of feeling all out of sorts, this is the blend that I go to. We've heard a lot about the wellness pyramid and then kind of learned a lot more about how much foundational wellness is just so important to our overall health. And every time I see this wellness pyramid, it just makes me so excited to just partner with doTERRA in their mission, because you can't out supplement, you can't use all the oils if the nutrition and digestion and movement pieces aren't there. And so the same is with stress. If you can have that firm foundation, you're going to be so much more equipped to deal with the stressors that we will inevitably have day to day. And so foundational wellness building blocks like a good omega, a great multi to fill in those gaps, digestive enzymes, and then that stress and sleep support is super key to help your body just, again, have something to come back to, right, to anchor it. So, favorite part of this for me, I love to get practical, right? It's great to have knowledge, but you need to put it into action for it to actually benefit you. So let's get really practical here. I love the idea of having these anchors throughout our day. And this has been super key with me. Just, we manage a lot throughout the day. And so having these check-in times that I can really center and ground myself and break up that stress response is super key. And most of us have a morning and evening routine. And so I would really encourage you to maybe more focus on this midday and try to really add that in so that you can kind of break up the stress, midday so it doesn't just keep building. So in the morning, 2 key things for me. I go outside as soon as I get up to get that morning sun. And then I like to have some quiet time before the kids wake up and the house gets going. This is the time I usually take my Adaptiv capsules, and I also diffuse Adaptiv blend to just kind of start my day. And then the midday kind of time out, as I'm calling it, right? We do this with kids. They need time outs in their day, to just kind of regroup and rest. I think we should think about that, doing it for ourselves as well. So even just prioritizing 5 minutes, it doesn't take long of just those deep breaths to really help get your body out of that stress response. And breathing in Shinrin-Yoku, maybe around lunch or a little after, is a great way. So again, break up that stress response. And then last but not least is winding down. Most of us have an evening routine, but maybe it's not serving you very well. So one thing that really has helped me is to block blue light at night to really help the body better kind of regulate that melatonin and cortisol. And then diffusing Adaptiv blend or another calming blend that you might like after dinner to kind of signal that rest time so that your body knows it's time to calm down. So I hope you've enjoyed this knowledge and these tools. I really pray that these things that you're going to implement in your day will help you to live out God's mission for your life each and every day. Thank you so much for having me. God bless.